The Goat House is back, recapping every single NFL game in Week 12 and giving every single team a grade based off their Week 12 performance. Doing this video every single Monday night after that Monday Night Football game. Let's take a look at these grades. Thursday Night Football, the Browns pull off the upset 24-19 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Some interesting weather conditions in that game. Was pretty entertaining because of that. I give the Browns a B+, the Steelers a C, and you could say that's pretty big difference in grade, given that it kind of came down to the wire. And it came down to the wire. Could have went either way, but the Browns outplayed the Steelers in this game. Look at the first half; they completely outplayed them. Second half felt like they were kind of pulling away. Maybe the weather was helping them. Then it kind of completely flipped. The Browns shooting themselves in the foot. I thought the Steelers were a little fortunate to be in that game and almost win that game. You know, you would think that they should be able to outplay the Browns in the first half when the weather wasn't that much of an issue, but not that much of an issue. In the second half, you know, I think the excuse is kind of being the weather, being away, but you would think that's playoff football, that's AFC North football. The Steelers are rolling this year. They should be able to play a little bit better. I'm not really worried. I think they had a hiccup here. They get back on track, but you expect more in this game. I thought the Browns outplayed them a little bit more than what the scores showed, even though the Steelers, rightfully still had a shot. B+ for the Browns, C for the Steelers. Another week, yet another Vikings game that is difficult to grade because they do the same thing. They outplay their opponent by a bit, but they let them stay in or make a crazy comeback. It seems like every week it's the same thing, but in this one, a great day on offense. 300-yard passer, 100-yard rusher, 100-yard receiver. They actually had two 100-yard receivers. But those three things happened for the Vikings for the first time since 2000. And they've had some good teams, some good offenses, a couple of historic offenses since then. And they did it today with Sam Darnold against the Bears defense, a very good defense, very good pass defense. So you'd think, scoring 30 points with all that, the Vikings did an A+, right? Well, no, they let their team kind of slither back in, have some late game heroics, and they actually make it a ball game. So the Vikings can have an A+, even though, for a majority of this game, they outplayed their opponent. I mean, heading into the fourth quarter, it was trending the Vikings' way. They're up 24-10, and they have this game put away. I'd say it was the matter of just running the ball a little bit more, especially in short yardage. For some reason, the Vikings don't do enough of that, I should say. Averaging, over 6 yards per carry. You would have ran the ball, got those couple extra yards, extend the drives, reset the sticks, and then run more clock. The Bears probably finished with the 10 or 17 points like it was going into the fourth quarter. So I think it was the matter of that, and the matter of the long things of like the heroics in the fourth quarter that did not go with their way. So overall, it's still a very, very impressive performance in the offense. The defense was very disappointing late in this game, but again, 10 points going into the fourth, so it was really all but one quarter, and they kind of snapped back out of it in overtime. They didn't even start with the ball. So I give them a B+. They were heading in the direction of an A or maybe even an A+, so can't quite do that. We bumped them down for that. And the Bears are tough to grade as well. You could argue maybe higher than C+. You could argue lower than C+, because, one of the better outings for Caleb Williams in this offense. In this game, great comeback. They actually sent it to overtime against the Vikings, so you want to grade it better that way. But at the same time, through three quarters, they did get outplayed. It kind of took, late game, like we said, late game, like craziness, heroics, and a crazy onside kick that bounced off a backup's legs, so you could say lower. End of the day, I want the Bears to put together 4 quarters here. Put together 4 quarters. 3 quarters, they got outplayed by quite a bit, and it took a long list of things to happen, but I do like where it's trending. They had a good game plan. The more I kind of evaluate, analyze this game, they had a pretty good game plan against the Vikings defense. Did it show, again, 4 quarters? Not really, but that was, we know the Vikings are going to blitz, and we have a rookie quarterback in there, so they kind of predicted when the blitz was coming, and they threw a lot of screens in those situations. Ton of screens. So many. Sometimes too many, like third down and a decent amount, they throw a screen. I didn't agree with that, but and that the blitz is useless then. So then that opened up, they're worried about the screen. It opened up some wide open plays down the field. I guess not a ton, but there were some good ones from Caleb Williams and company. So the screen game kind of opened everything up, and the Vikings in overtime finally went, all right, they got a game plan for the blitz. They're just going to throw these screens, and we're not too good against the screens. Or Caleb's going to scramble around, so let's not blitz, and a 3 and out in the third quarter. They got a sack, even though they didn't get great pressure on that. Caleb Williams kind of held on the ball forever. As good of a game as he had, probably the worst sack of the year to end it, so it's a tough one to end it, but he did have a really solid game. But the more I think about it, the game plan played a huge factor. Screens on the blitz to open up something downfield that really worked out. I suppose, but got to put together a full game here. B+ for the Vikings, C+ for the Chicago Bears, and a wildly entertaining one. Lions versus the Colts, another really good outing for the Detroit Lions. They do not slip up, and I guess they did once against the Bucs. It was early season where anything can happen. They don't slip up, 24-6. And this one started a little slow, maybe why they don't get an A+ nitpicking here for the best team in football. But it started a little slow. It felt like, all right, the Colts might hang around in this game. Colts defense looked decent at times, but then the Lions really got going. But they were able to do enough on offense. Jahmyr Gibbs had a monster game. I felt like they could have done a little more. Defensively, very, very, very much impressed about their defensive outing. Limiting Jonathan Taylor, limiting Anthony Richardson's passing game. He actually he scrambled a little bit. But what did he have? Under 40% completion percentage. That's a really good outing for the Detroit Lions defense. It feels like it's getting better. Man, if they had Aiden Hutchinson, it'd be insane right now because the defense already is playing that good. And for the Colts, I'll give the Lions an A. The Colts I give a D to. I mean, they hung around a little bit early. The defense had good moments early, but at the end of the day, what did they have going for them? They didn't score a touchdown. The consistency in the passing, the completion percentage, all that was poor in this game. They didn't have anything going for them. The Lions, were able to run the ball. Gibbs went off. They were kind of able to do on both sides of the ball what they wanted. So it is not a good outing for the Colts. I give them a D. Maybe that's even generous, but early in this game, they were making some plays on defense, kind of keeping them in this game. The offense kind of scored touchdowns in this game. So they get a D. Lions get an A. Patriots and Dolphins in another game where this final score probably doesn't tell the story. And I mean, it does and it doesn't. Like the final score says the Dolphins dominated this game, but I thought they actually dominated by more than the score showed even. So the Patriots got some late scores in there. The Dolphins were awesome. This game felt over and over fast. So Dolphins get an easy A+. I mean, the offense explosive. Tua could do everything he wanted. Jonnu Smith keeps rolling. Achane keeps rolling. They were able to do anything they wanted. Not a surprise. Offense was awesome. And the Patriots sometimes have a pretty good defense. So, I mean, it's awesome. But defensively is where I'm at here. The Dolphins defensively are getting better. They had a really good game plan. It was a well-coached game against the Rams. I thought it wasn't perfect, but against, I thought they really got going. And, the defense is getting going. It shows. The Patriots have been a little bit more explosive under Drake May. Again, defense impressive. Chop Robinson getting going as well. Dolphins getting an easy A+. Patriots F+ looks funny, but reason for that is D would be generous because they got some late scores. This game was just over quick. When it's over quick, you did something terribly wrong on both sides of the ball. The reason it's on an F, yeah, they get some offense going late. Actually they had that scoop, and score, but on defense, but doesn't quite feel like some of those F performances that we gave out this year, so we give them an A+. It's kind of a funny looking grade. I don't know if it's a real grade, but A+ and F+ for this one, and an A+ and an F for a firm F for this one. Bucks win 30-7 against the Giants. This game also felt like the Dolphins game felt over very, very quickly as the Bucks dominated this game. Pretty much could do what they wanted on offense. Baker was awesome in this game. The defense stepping up, they kind of needed that because they've had some very bad defensive performers. They should be pretty good in this game because it's Tommy DeVito. It's a Giants team. The season is lost, but this is pretty good. 7 points. I mean, it's pretty damn good. Pretty impressive, even though it's not the most impressive thing when you play the Giants. But they had a really good outing in this game. Absolutely dominant from start to finish. So they win 30-7, get an A+. And the Giants, I mean, nothing going for them. Usually teams score on the Bucs. Usually they move the ball. Really not much going for them. Sloppy football. Defense was brutally on top of that. So I think it's an easy A+, easy F for this one here. Wild game between the Cowboys and the Commanders. The Cowboys win 34-26. Again, strange game. I mean, the story of this game is the Commanders dropping 3 straight, and what we kind of talked about last week, what we kind of hinted at throughout the year, that will the Commanders get figured out? Will there be a game plan? Because Cliff Kingsbury's offenses tend to do that. They did it in Arizona. And then when you have a new dual threat quarterback that there really isn't any film on in the NFL and a new offense, that happens a lot too. It happens like all of a sudden the teams find that the film is stacking up. And it's like, all right, this is what we have to do, and it kind of catches on. The Steelers, and last week the Eagles kind of putting that on film, and the Cowboys have not been a good defense either. So it's start to worry a little bit. It's time to start worrying a little bit about the Commanders if you're thinking like winning playoff games. And Is Jaden Daniels as good as he was early season? It's kind of evident that they're getting figured out a little bit. I still think it'd be a pretty good team, but I don't know if they're just built for like winning playoff games right now. Dropping this one, and they almost got fortunate at the end. I don't know. It just felt like a battle between two teams that aren't the best. That's what this felt like. The Cowboys did outplay the Commanders. It did take two special team scores to get to 34. I wouldn't say to win because they did outplay them. So I felt like a B for the Cowboys, a C for the Commanders. And that might be generous for both teams. It might definitely be generous for the Commanders. But, again, 2 scores on special teams. The defense wasn't great, but it wasn't awful. Offense had fourth quarter going for them. But you got to put 4 quarters together. C might be generous, to be honest. So a B and a C for the Cowboys and the Commanders in a wild game. Another entertaining game. The Chiefs beat the Panthers 30-27. I gave both teams a B. Interesting one to grade because the Chiefs did outplay the Panthers. The whole game, it felt like, all right, the Chiefs are going to win. It's just a matter of, is it going to be big or is it going to be close? And it felt like at times one or the other. Like at times it's like they're going to win by a pretty decent amount. And then at times it might be pretty close. So looking at it that way, the Chiefs probably should get a better grade. But I am very disappointed with their defense. And I'm surprised that the Panthers were able to get pressure and hit Mahomes as much as they did. So I wasn't really thrilled with that. They kind of looked like they were moping around in this game, if that makes sense. Maybe estimating their opponent was the reason for that. So I gave them the B. And the Panthers, even though they got outplayed, and maybe you could argue they could have lost this game by more, or maybe they could have won the game. But I'm still impressed. This was Bryce Young, by far Bryce Young's best game. Yeah, he was actually awesome in this game if you watch it. We were talking about it on Twitter this morning. Really good. And against a Chiefs defense that's pretty solid. I think the matchup really favored the Chiefs, and the Panthers kind of stuck at it, like how they got pressure on Mahomes. The defense still gave up a lot of points. The Chiefs, at the end of the day, when they absolutely wanted to move or needed to move the ball, then they could. They could. So maybe you side with the Chiefs a little bit more, but it felt like a B for both teams in this outing. You could say a B, B+, both B pluses in that range. Titans and Texans, an upset here. The Titans pulling it off, and the biggest upset is them scoring 32 points against the Texans defense. That's the crazy part. In another game where the score, quite a few this week, the score shows it being maybe closer in grade than it actually is. The Titans outplayed the Texans this game. Pretty clearly, actually. So I gave the Titans an A-. I was given the circumstances, and I was very impressed with them. Will Levis, one play was very, very bad. Other than that, he looked really good, and I said it last week. Played the Vikings defense. He played the best game yet. I think he was trending in the right direction, and boom, he does it again this game. I mean, he had how many completions in a row? He was playing very well. Tony Pollard playing very well. Minus 1 fumble. Like, both those guys played very well. They minus 1 play. They stopped the run so well, and they did it against the Vikings. They did it this week against the Texans, so I think they're turning a corner. They shut down a red-hot Joe Mixon, and it just – special teams is still historically bad. It is – I don't know. They got to fix that this offseason. Titans special teams is awful, and it cost them the first game of the year. They should have won that game. So, and it was multiple games this year, and it tried to kind of cost them this game. So I thought the Texans were very, very fortunate to be in this game. I think somewhat similar to the couple of other games. We had Browns, Steelers, Vikings, Bears for sure. Very similar to that. I thought the Texans were very fortunate to be in this game. The Titans completely outplayed them. C.J. Stroud is not playing right. Of course, the offensive line isn't that great, but when it feels like they're a team right now that's relying on Mixon going bonkers, and he does most weeks, but he does. You're not going to do that against the Titans' run defense, which we know is pretty good. So, it's this was a wild one. The Titans look like the better team in Houston in this game. So I gave them an A-. The Texans I was pretty disappointed with. Besides getting pressure on Will Levis, they got sacks. They got 8 sacks. They lost the game. I think they're pretty undisciplined as well. It's kind of reminding me of the Lions game. You get 5 interceptions, go win the damn game. And this one's the Titans. Go win the game. So I'm disappointed in them right now. I'm disappointed in C.J. Stroud, who I think very, very high. I still think very, very highly of him. But right now, I'm underwhelmed. I'm disappointed. So Titans pull it off in a surprise one here. Broncos beat the Raiders. A little bit of a comeback. That might be strong of words. They were down a little bit early, getting outplayed early, and they win 29-19. It was somewhat similar to the Broncos-Raiders the last outing this year, where early the Raiders are outplaying the Broncos. Then Minshew throws a bad pick. Last time it was a pick 6. Completely changed the game. And in the third quarter, he threw a brutal one. I mean, sailed it is an understatement. Just a pure gift from Minshew on this one, and that completely changed the game. So the Raiders, honestly, I don't know. You can't sit here and say if he doesn't throw those interceptions, they win the game, but they have a shot. I mean, they were hanging on to the end in this game. Watching this game, it didn't really feel like I was watching two good teams at all. Like it felt like two below average teams. I don't think the Broncos are below average. I think they're good. They're playing really good football as of late. In this game, I wasn't overly thrilled. I like how they figured it out in the second half. I do think Bo Nix played very well. Cortland Sutton's a dog. Obviously, they made plays on defense, especially in the red zone, but they were a little underwhelming, I guess, given how they've been playing recently. So it wasn't really, they kind of, again, if it wasn't for that Minshew interception, how would this game be? And the Raiders kind of stuck around, even though you think the Broncos put away at the end. So wasn't overly thrilled about this game. It didn't really feel like great football, even though there was some highlights. Bo Nix, again, Cortland Sutton, red zone defense for the Broncos, but I give the Broncos a B-. Wasn't overly thrilled, but overall, the second half was good. And a C+ for the Raiders in this one, which they outplayed the Broncos for a portion, so that's why it's not a terrible grade. 49ers and Packers. The Packers dominate this one 38-10 by the final score. If you watch the game, did it really feel like that, though? The Packers had a good lead, and they were going to win this game all the way through, but the Niners, I don't want to say they were staying close, but they were kind of sticking around for a little bit. So I wish the Packers, given who was out for the Niners in Lambeau, I wish the Packers put them away a little earlier, but they do dominate the game. They win 38-10 in this one. They made plays on both sides of the ball. Josh Jacobs was awesome, and they pull away. So they get an A. I don't know if it was perfect, especially the first half. So it's hard to say. It's hard to say A+. They did what they needed to do. For the 49ers, I know they're missing. It's impossible for them to win this game, what they're missing, but still pretty disappointing in the defense. I know they're missing Nick Bosa. It just does not feel like the same Niners team. It's hard to say that in offense in this game. But even McCaffrey doesn't feel right. I thought they kind of stuck around a little bit early in this game, so I didn't give them an F and just kind of give them the circumstances. I mean, maybe your three best players are out. Debatable, I suppose, but three key players are out, first time this week. So that's obviously tough. So A for the Packers, D- for the Niners. Seahawks and the Cardinals, a defensive ball game. I think we expected a little more offense in this one. I expected the Cardinals to get more than 6 points. Seahawks win 16-6. I give them an A-. I give the Cardinals a C-. I think the Seahawks outperformed the Cardinals by more than the score showed. You could say, well, the Cardinals once again played pretty good defense. Yeah, they did. I thought when the Seahawks absolutely had to get a first down or move the ball, they did. I mean, Geno kind of did gift them with a red zone interception. Otherwise, they would have had more points. I know Kyler gifted them with a pick 6. But Cardinals, again, it's why they're not lower than a C-. The defense played well. But scoring 6 points and not just being able to it felt like they were not in this game at all, even when it was close. Like, they just felt like they had no life on offense. C-. It might be generous. Six points. I can't believe that. So did the bye cool them down? How will they be against the Vikings next week? It's interesting. Seattle, I give an A-. Yes, the offense is a little underwhelming. Yes, Geno tried to keep them in the game with the red zone interception, but again, mainly at the end. But when they absolutely need to get a first down, drain some more clock, I thought they did that pretty decently. And JSN did very well once again. Walker did all right once again. They shut down the Cardinals' run, which that's the Cardinals' game. They have a very physical rushing attack, and that's the bad thing about the Cardinals. If they do not have their rushing attack to open up the pass, are they in trouble? Are they one of those teams where things need to go perfectly, and then on their hot streak, things were going perfectly? What happens if they're not? That's what I worry about here with the Arizona Cardinals. So Seahawks defense looks insane right now. It's a Mike McDonald defense. As they get healthier, they're getting better. They got healthier quite a few weeks ago, and they've been getting going, and they really took a step up last week and even more so this week. So really excited about this defense. I called them my sneakiest team, and that's been accurate every year going into this year, and they are winning. They are leading, I should say, the NFC West right now, so watch out for the Seattle Seahawks. These two teams will play again in a couple of weeks here, so it should be pretty interesting. A- for the Seahawks, C- for the Cardinals. Cardinals, right when I got hot on them, I'm getting really cold on them. I don't want to do it off one game, but they're a team to watch going forward. Got to learn a little bit more about them, apparently. Sunday night football, a little bit of a tough one to grade, actually. The Eagles do romp the Rams 37-20, but it was closer to that for a majority of this game, or for a portion, I guess I should say, of this game. So and the Rams were able to get some explosive plays. They were actually able to move the ball on the Eagles defense like no one's been able to do. So looking at it that way, do the Eagles deserve an A+? Do the Rams C-? Should they be a little bit better? But the Eagles just completely outplayed them. The running, I mean, gashed them on the ground. When you dominate a team on the ground like that, and they were able to pass when they wanted to as well without Devontae Smith. I mean, what Barkley did to them on the ground, I mean, even when Gainwell was in, it's embarrassing for the Rams. So, and then the Eagles started getting pressure nonstop on Stafford, even though Stafford and the top receivers had some production. Again, they moved the ball, the Rams, they couldn't execute. They couldn't finish. Starts with a Kyren Williams fumble and just not being able to finish. What's with the offensive line? It gets healthier, it gets worse. Are they worse than they? It's weird. And the Eagles have a really good defense, but have they been getting that much pressure on quarterbacks? It's more so their coverage is why they're in the run defense is why it's been so great. So, looking at the Rams' performance, I'm going like, what do they have going for them? I think Stafford's a really good quarterback. He's got really good receivers, but what could they kind of rely on here on looking at both sides of the ball? They kind of can get beaten multiple different ways, almost exposed a little bit. But the Eagles are a top team, so Eagles just pulling away and dominating like that on both sides of the ball. I think they're deserving of an A+ in a game where they're on the road. It could be a trap game against a pretty good team. So A+ for them and a C- for the Rams. Monday Night Football, the Ravens win 30-23. They get an A-. The Chargers get a C-. So this is another one of those games that how the game went doesn't really match the score. Only a 7-point game, but the Ravens dominated this game. Not right from the beginning, though. The Chargers were up 10-0. It felt like they were going to win this game easier than expected, maybe, if you thought they were going to win. But since that 10-0 part, the game completely flipped. You could see it. You could feel it. The Ravens had that game after that 10-0 part. The run game was wide open, and that's the Chargers. During the year, you're going, this run defense is actually good because it's not supposed to be, and it turns out, as soon as they play good teams, good records, as soon as they play teams that actually have a rushing attack, like, nope, they got torched on the ground by Derrick Henry and company. I think the game plan was kind of fully on Lamar Jackson, and that just opened up so many different scenarios. I mean, mainly Derrick Henry there. So, yeah, I worry about the Chargers against good teams. I'm surprised about the offense shutting down, after that 10-0 part because, I mean, McConkey was solid. Herbert wasn't bad at all, but you expect a lot more. I know Dobbins went down, but you expect a lot more from the offense there, and the defense just is not the same statistically through most of the year because they played much easier teams throughout most of the year. So kind of got to reevaluate the Chargers here. They need to prove some more things here at home. The way this game started, they should be a little more in this game. They just weren't. You could just see the difference. You could feel the difference in the Ravens. Yeah, the only knocks are the start. And once again, they need Derrick Henry to kind of pick things up, like to really get going for the whole team to get going. Guys like Lamar, superstar player, he's capable of doing things on his own, so I'm not saying he's not, but looking at the wins and losses this year and how even within games, this game from the 10-0 spot to the rest, they need Derrick Henry to really get going, and then opens up everything else. So that's kind of the only knock on them. That's kind of a knock like in the playoffs when you play the best game after game after game. Is it going to be perfect, those games? But what I do love is the defense is starting to pick it up. We saw it for a portion of that Bengals game. They kept the Steelers out of the end zone, the last game, and now this game they really picked it up. I thought it does. The score of the 23 of the Chargers don't really tell the story too much. And again, the beginning they were getting going, but the Ravens really dominated this game despite the score not showing. There's quite a few of those this week. Team dominating it. If you look at just the score, won't tell you. But if you've watched the game and the feeling from the game, that's just what it was. So A- for the Ravens, C- for the Chargers. That wraps it up for this video that we do every Monday night. Recap the games quickly, but also give teams a grade. Loads of content on the channel, a new mock draft. Next up, power rankings, weekly picks for week 13. So cannot wait. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.